here we are getting ready to try out this palette 360 from Color Cube 2 of Sarah Renae Clark's Color Cube Systems. The colors called for here are eggplant, burgundy, blush, peach, rust, and auburn. I've been over here trying to mix already. What I have here right now is you will see that I've gone ahead and I've drawn a bunch of circles within each other. And I have a Lazy Susan here to try and help me out a little bit. So to make the circles, I grabbed anything I could find. This larger outside circle was actually the bottom of my coffee pot. This was a canister of Talente ice cream. Then we have masking tape. And then we have my smaller tape for painting. And so just use that to just give myself some guidelines. And then I went and grabbed, a kneaded eraser so that I could get some of this off because I don't want it coming through the paint. I have taped off edges and mixed. I grabbed some berry wine. I brought back the dark chocolate. I ended up grabbing some deep violet or red violet deep to try for some of that burgundy and eggplant. I have on hand vintage tea rose, the papaya. It's back again, yellow, orange, light, which has to be turned down now because it's been being used so much lately. And then to have on hand some golden honey. So as you can see, I have been mixing away before starting out on some palette paper. I have a bunch of different size rounds, and then I have this larger flat that I'm going to use, and I think I'm going to stick with this size of flat. And this one is what, 1/2 inch flat. I'm going to do more of the darker eggplant on the outside and allow that to dry because I'm thinking of some other patterns down here in the corners. I'm really trying to see what I have in mind for a pattern design. I'm going to try it out here with you all on painting. And if I'm lucky and it works, I'll try and put it up into the computer, into Adobe Illustrator, and vectorize it. Got my rag, got some paper towels around too, so I can grab them if I have to. I'm going to start out here with this darker. This is a pretty color. It did end up getting pretty when I mixed the berry wine with the dark chocolate, and then I just ended up putting a little bit of this red violet deep in there. That is a very pretty color. Don't know if you can fully see it. All right, let's see if I can do this and make a halfway decent line. They don't have to be perfect. Not expecting it to be perfect because I don't have perfect steady hands. And we get this little piece right there that is going to cause some issues. So I'm just going to get it on here and basically try and follow the line. I will go back and fix it in a little bit. Hence why I tried to do a line, a circle drawn out. I don't have the steadiest of hands. And that's okay. Doesn't mean I stop. Doesn't mean I stop trying. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Because what would be life without a major whoops, huh? Okay. And this is why you just let it happen. Okay? Now, I'm going to go back over here and try and see if I can smooth it out a little bit. You want to have real life. This is real life brush strokes in here. And sometimes when you start to try and put things into digital art or vectorize them in a program like Adobe Illustrator, you can try and there's ways to get it to look like it's actual real brush strokes. And at this point, I'm going to let the edge be shaky and shaggy for lack of better terms. We're just gonna have a shaky, shaggy circle here. This is definitely an experimentation. The good thing is I can get this and fix that before I get to the next step. I can make straighter lines inside a computer. Straighter circular line, I guess I should say. How do we say that? When I go to do this in the computer, I'm probably going to be using a line that I make circular. I'm getting all my terminology all messed up. All right. Well, that's pretty darn red now, ain't it? Yep. I'm going to take some Trillium white. It's not complete white and wasn't completely dry. May have to put it into the design, who knows? But you can always go and use some Trillium white. Let me just work on this a little bit. Dry a little bit. Get a good layer on there. Try and even that layer out. What I'm probably ending up doing is bag of tricks over here. Dr. PH Martin's Bleedproof white. But let's let that have its time drying and then I can deal with it. Well, that's a wonky looking circle. Still circular. We'll go with it. Which of the colors do I want to do? I think maybe I will do next that peachy colored one. And let's go ahead with this. What I'm trying to do is they don't have to be exactly all the same size. It's not going to be because I'm using different size brushes. That is actually what I'm trying to do is each of the rings is going to be a different size. Let's see if I can use what I've got here or how soon am I going to have to end up. Oh boy. This is where I normally like to do this sitting down. And you can see that line in there. So that probably means I'll go back and put more paint on here. Not just because it didn't give full coverage the first time around, but because I can see the line coming through. I hesitated going and doing this with you all just because I knew it wasn't going to be perfect. I knew I was going to have trouble with this because I don't have the steadiest of hands for a variety of reasons. Now, another way around this was I could have done a whole lot of taping and then just taped in between lines, quite honest. Sometimes it's surprising what I find tedious and what I don't find tedious. And the thought of that today was just like, oh, that would be so tedious. I don't know if I have it in me today. So, like I said, I was questioning whether I wanted to do this with you all because, yeah, for various reasons, I don't have the ability to have a steady hand, which was one of the reasons why I never went further into medical study because I was like, ooh, nobody would want to have my hands going at them for stitches, never mind surgery. And just never wanted to subject anybody. And I shake my hands. But the other thing too is, you know what? I just wanted to show don't let it stop you. Don't say, I can't paint because my hands are shaky. I can't do detailed work because of it. Just do it. You know, I would have to say a lot of you aren't doing like me and being here, filming yourself, there's ways to adapt and ways to try and help yourself. And you shouldn't let something stop you. There are people with a heck of a lot worse going on for them with their hands or their vision and their painting. Looking at all my different rounds that I've got ready to go and saying, what do I want to grab? I don't want to do the yellow. Okay, I'm going to do this one here. I'm just going to do that. And let's see what we can get with it. It's not exactly the best round tip right now. Why start perfection now? Okay, let's now this way. And you don't have to have a lazy Susan to do this. You could just do it on the table and keep moving the book, your piece of watercolor paper, your canvas. You could just keep moving it. You might also be able to do just, keeping where it is and coming from a different direction, and your hand bends that way. Okay. So I'm just going to go over it again. Oops. Starting that paintbrush where I don't want it to go, but oh well. There's something I can do. And I can always think of something to do too. Because yet again, vision in head versus execution on paper did not come out like I always try. It's okay. Let's let it have its rough edges. Whatever. They're just very organic and wonky. I'm gonna do the straight yellow orange light next. Do one that actually looks halfway decent? I don't know. We might be. The thing is, when I dry or let this dry, I can always go in and actually put other colors in there. And that would take care of it. I used to have an English teacher in high school, and her favorite saying was, not working, go back 5 and punt. So a lot of times in life in general, but especially with painting, sometimes you just gotta go back 5 and punt. Keeps you on your toes. Because nobody's perfect. Life ain't perfect. So you gotta deal. All right. They're not looking concentric either. They're looking eccentric. It's supposed to be going around a centerpiece and it's not really there. Okay, I'm going to do that straight pink, the rose pink. Vintage tea rose is what they're calling it. Make sure this is looking halfway decent, even with trying to hold the paintbrush differently. Still having issues. Oh well. Syrah. Just hang in with me, people. You can laugh if you want to out there. If anybody's still watching at this point, because this is probably not the most interesting one that you're going to see of my stuff. We're going to go ahead and we're going to let this sink in we're gonna just pink it in. Here we go. We're just gonna pink it in. I'm gonna have this all in here for the moment. And we're just gonna let it do that. We'll see. Gonna see what I come up with. Because I've got to let this dry a little bit. And I'm going to go and get, actually I can do that next for you because I just felt it and it is dry to the touch. Just trying to cover up some of the areas that are peeking through a little bit because that is a matte paint, but it's not as matte. So you have to sort of go back and fill in some of the dots. Let me show you what I mean by the Bleedproof white. Let's see if we can get this to work for us. There is really no true white that you can't really see through all the time. A lot of times people will use Bleedproof white. They'll keep covering it up and over again. But Bleedproof white is one that really does good. Activate it a little bit with the wet brush. Let's see what we can do here. All right. Ever saying, oh no, I made a mistake and it really is a mistake, you can always go and use something like this. It does cover it up, as you can see. That is pretty stark white. But it did cover that burgundy. And with this, always remember to shut the cover on it so you don't dry it out because it's worth its weight in gold. Now I need to let that dry. I'm going to go think about what I want to do with my wonky circles before I go on to some of the things that I'm thinking about on the side. I went and stewed trying to figure out how to see if I can salvage it. And I just realized I just got paint in there. There's a quick way to fix that right now. All right, hadn't gone and got rid of any of the paintbrushes yet. So pretty much that's in the dark red. There we go. Easy peasy. Compared to everything else that's gone on today with my wonderful mixing fiascos. We can put a little bit more of the pure wineberry up there. So while I was gone, and what I decided to do was I let go of having the use of some white space in there and went in and basically used the paint over here on the palette and painted everything in. You'll notice the edges around here are rough. I'm going to leave them like that right now. Some of the areas I sort of liked that some of the white and texture from the watercolor paper was coming through, leaving some white spotting kind of stuff. I'm going to leave it. Just so that you know, if you ever have acrylic paint out and you're going to come to it, you can just use a piece of saran wrap, plastic wrap, put it over it, and it can try and help keep some of that paint, you know, not dried out so that you can use it. Well, you see over here, I've been up to something. I've decided that I'm going to move on to the next parts here, which is going to be in each of the corners that I have a concept for, and we're going to see if we can execute it. But I am not going to fool around with the paint anymore. I went and grabbed my Tooli-Art acrylic paint pens. This is their Earth collection, and this is their medium nibs, and I also have the same set, but in their extra fine nibs. So I went and matched the medium-sized nib with the extra fine nibs, and we are now going to try and see if I can get this to work out. I now have gone searching wide, far in my apartment to try and find just the right thing to do this. I got a soup mug. Okay, well, let's see if we can use this. So again, we have this white stain that I ended up doing, the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleedproof white. It did come to mind while I was away that white paint doesn't always cover it up. You can also use a Posca acrylic pen. And this is a Uniball Signo. So sometimes people will try and use these if they don't have the Bleedproof white on hand. So there are other ways of doing it. Or you can just do what I'm about to do. I did the white on it, but I'm not exactly too pleased with it. This is an off-white, so that's part of the problem too. All right, so what we're gonna start here is, let's see if we can get this to go. All right, so that is a darker color, and I'm gonna have this actually go over this paint. That was why it was important for it to dry. What am I gonna do? I think that I'm gonna use this one. It's doing pretty good matching. Here's the color palette choices we're going with. Sure. So what you saw over here, now it's all painted down, was you have to prime these a lot of times. You have to shake them up, get that ball going, and then keep pressing on the nib to get the paint to come down and release any air bubbles. So that's what this was for. Trying to prime this for you all. I mean, get a paper towel in case. We're going to start out with this one. I'm going to use the bigger, thicker nib. Let's start from here. And I am going to go down. Now you're going to see my arm go across here. Okay, so we got that a little bit. Now, the next one will come back in here, and I'm going to use the same color. It may start rounding off. Let's try and get that to be sort of in the middle of where this arch is going. This is going to be so much easier to do in the computer. Okay, this is actually feeling like the nib is going to be too thick. So let's go over to the finer nib, because I'm just trying to be a little bit smarter right now. There. My equipment always has marks all over it. All right, so we've got sort of a line there. Let's see. So this is where priming is good. And it's going to be wonky, but I'm going up into that one, is the thought. This is very tedious stuff going on. So once I show you what I'm thinking of doing, I may go off and color all of this in the way that I'm thinking I want to color it in. You can start seeing what this next part will be. All right, so I've done that. Now, let's take it down even further. Now that's being too thick. Okie doke. What can we do here now? I do one like this? Nope, too small. This is where you start going, everything's too big, everything's too small. Why? How about this one? Oh, that's gonna work. Saving those ice cream containers does the art good, at least. Okay, so now I've done that one. What one do I want to do here? There we go. Making sure I'm sort of lined up. Probably not. But that's okay. It's gonna be okay. And because I'm trying not to lose the marking. There, we can just fix it like that. And now, which one do I want to go from here? Do I want to do another one again, but further down? All right, we're going to try again. Do I want to do another color? We got boo-boos going on all over the place again. So let's see. How do I want to work this? Okay, I'm going to do the darker. All right, and this arc part. Excuse my head if it's in here. And that is sort of preemptive because you can see some of this bled. So I'm going to be thinking about how I'm going to be coloring that in. Now I would like to go with a lighter color and see what I can do from here. I would not recommend putting the dirty water in if you don't have to, but oh well. This is what we're at. So just shaking it up again. I'm looking for the arch and I don't have things that are arched shaped. So go with what you got and deal with it. Okay, so I've got that one. Now, the only one I haven't used is this darker mauve, which I'm going to try and put on the inside here. Now, I had something I was looking at. How about using the inside? And we'll try and see what I can come up from there. What I basically showed you here is I'm thinking of, again, like circle, but in an arch kind of situation, because this is more, I'm trying to do something on the lines of Art Nouveau, mid-century modern curvatures and colors. As you can see, this is going to go over this one. I want something to come out from this corner, but it's not going to go over it. It's going to look like this is actually on top of it. Same concept here. We'll go up here, but this one will go over it. It's going to be done over here looking as if it's coming out from underneath this part of the painting. Clear? Clear as mud? That's what I'm going to go off and do now. And then when I come back, you'll see how successful I was. And then I'm going to see the little last bit that I want to try and put on it, but we'll see if it works or not. I am actually back. There was no way we could have recorded that because that was some meticulous work, troubleshooting going on while I tried to make circles that overlapped. It looked like they were underneath the original circle. Acrylic marker pens are really good, but they can actually pill up a lot, which was what was happening. And, you know, it's sort of looking close. Like I said, I did want to have like a Art Nouveau, mid-century modern kind of curves, all that kind of stuff. Gold leafing pen. What do I want to try and do? Well, I do want to try and do something. I want to try and make these shapes, and then we're going to go from there. Now the question being, do I want to do all of this on the video right now, or do I want to, let me just start with this rolling. My mic actually malfunctioned, but I caught it this time, so we are on room microphone. Sorry if this is sounding a little bit icky. When I originally thought of doing this, this is what I had wanted. The idea is to put that little chevron either open or colored in like I just did on that one, and probably changing around the direction. So this one makes sense to do it this way. So that's how I'm going to do it on this one. And just because not liking some of the shape of that, we'll just do that in there, and we'll put a dot in the middle. And as everything is going today, it's going to be wonky. Let's put this over here for the moment. Now I want to do this one this way. Hey, see? Shape not doing as well as I would like it to, because now I'm on camera and I'm thinking about it. It's because now I'm thinking about it because I know I've got all of you watching me. They don't have to be perfect. They're getting the shape that they need to be getting shaped. And let's see, how do I want this one to go? I want this one to sort of come in diagonal. There, that's a little bit better. Here we go. I'm not going to put anything in the center there. We'll let it figure itself out. Here we go on this one. Oh, don't you do this to me. That was what was happening with some of the acrylic markers. They were starting to go a little dry. They didn't like this paper either. It was causing it to pill. You can see it pilled up a little bit. what happens if we do this? Not exactly the best point on this one. This is actually the marker I use when I was outlining my crystals for some of my resin work. It's pretty roughed up. We're gonna do a couple more in here. See if I do it this way. Connect the dots. Does that help me at this point? Not really. And how do I want this one to go? I think I want this one. Let me just make sure I'm dry, because as you can see, oh, that wasn't dry. Oops. Oh, well. Now, I'm getting very particular. Okay. So we've got some of them in there. Let me just make a little bit more of a design in here so that it has something to zhuzh it up. Do I want to do circles over here too? I know where I want to do circles, or a little bit of dabs, because it's looking funky. It's looking a little funky over here. There. All right, that's a little bit better. What about you? You're looking boring. Let's see if I can get it to do it. There we go. Let's make you a little bit bigger. Oh, I know you're too big. So what can we do? It cracks me up how it'll make some kind of weird error. And then when I try and do the same exact thing, same exact pressure on the pen, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, don't feel like doing that. Brain of its own. Okay. Weird mark making. We'll just leave it that way. Next time I come back, I'll just go through the whole thing, because who knows, I may walk away and then come back and go, let's just add some more to it. I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. Looks like I went to town a little bit with the gold leaf pen. I just don't know when to leave well enough alone. So I did some additional marking. I don't know how much I've stayed in Art Deco. Maybe Boho Art Deco we're looking at now. But anyway, I didn't want to not take the tape off without it being on tape, because, you know, there's nothing like a good reveal. Taking off the tape. And see. Whoop. Let's go from the other side. Tend to pull at an angle away from the watercolor paper. And now we can get that off without hurting anything. Let's try and see if we can get this one up here. Let's try it. All right. If I didn't frame over that, I could always cut that down. If the time comes where I ever want to take these out of these books. Last piece of tape. Pretty good. Nothing bled under the tape, so that is a positive. Made it through another one. I hope that you've enjoyed seeing how I pulled this out of a dumpster fire. Again, as always, what is in my mind does not translate always onto the canvas, but that's some of the fun, figuring out how to get out of the corner that I just backed myself into. Please, I would appreciate it if you take the time to subscribe, like, share, comment, and just keep coming back. It helps the channel a lot more than you could ever realize, that subscribe, like, and you watching every week. We were doing palette 360 from Color Cube 2, Sarah Renae Color Cube Systems. The colors we were supposed to use were eggplant, burgundy, blush, peach, rust, and auburn. I used acrylic paint. I used acrylic pens, paint pens. I used some gold leaf. I used anything that was circular I could find in the house to try and do this. And this is what we came up with. So let's get a nice look here. You know, I like a good shot of metallic, and gold leaf pens are beautiful. I hope you enjoyed your time with me. I've enjoyed having you, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.